Hey everybody, this is Donovan from Springfield Music, and I want to welcome you to Mo Better Bands, which is both a podcast and a YouTube channel where we talk with instrumental music educators in Missouri and Kansas about their programs, their successes, their challenges, and so much more. If there's a topic or an educator that you'd like to hear, drop me an email at donovan@springfieldmusic.com. That's DONOVAN at springfieldmusic.com. Okay, let's get to today's guest.
This is an unexpected conversation, but I just hit the record button because it's
No
so
problem.
good. I think you're right because we're talking about how I think someone who's good in their job, good in their career, is constantly evolving and improving. And I don't know that everyone necessarily feels that way, but I think a successful human being is someone who's constantly updating their mindset and knowledge as they go along, and they're constantly reevaluating, and they're looking at their careers and their skills and their beliefs much like a scientist would. What's the most current relevant data I have today? Okay, how is that going to inform my viewpoint on what I'm doing, and then updating those things. And I think any of the people that just like, nope, I'm doing the same thing the way I was doing it when I first started, or I learned a lot in the first 5 years of my teaching career, but ever since then, I kind of got into a groove, and I've been doing that same thing. Oh, I don't know that that's a recipe for success.
No, it's not. I will say that there are things that I do today that I did from the very beginning, but that's because they've been proven to work. And at the time, or when it comes to the day when it doesn't work, then I'm going to stop and say, whoa, why isn't that working anymore? Is it me? Have my students changed? Is it just this year? Do I need to go through and look at the whole process again? Thankfully, I haven't really gotten there um, with the few things that I still do. But like I said, I am not the same person that I was when I started
Yeah,
7 years ago. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
it's interesting.
And I would imagine, you started this conversation by saying that you're hoping that 5 years from now that, I can look back and feel that I've changed a lot. And I bet, like any of us, you're going to have some of those changes are going to be so incremental that you kind of don't realize they happen until you stop and look at a measuring point in the past.
Right.
But then you will have every once in a while a couple of like big moments that change your perspective on stuff. And so most of our lives are spent with just this gradual, and it's obviously not even gradually up. It's probably more like this, it's just
Yeah.
these kind of small movements, and you hope, and overall it tends to kind of go up and get better. And then every once in a while there's like a chunk,
Yeah.
there's something traumatizing that happens to you that makes you realize, oh my gosh, I should never do that again. Or you get some kind of inspiration, or see somebody who's doing something that you're like, oh my gosh, I could totally do that. And you just kind of level up from copying what someone else is doing, or be inspired by what someone else is doing. And I mean, I think but you've got to always have that mindset, which is kind of one of the reasons why I thought to do this podcast. I thought, like, well, let's hear. I know there's a lot of content out there for educators, which is great, but sometimes it's really nice to hear, like, what are the people that I know doing? What are the people that are in my state doing? What are the people that are maybe even just down the road from me doing? And kind of sharing some of those ideas with each other. And so, as I was doing a town hall that Eastman was holding for just a handful of dealers, and they had Charlie Mangini there. And Charlie just had so many great ideas. And what they were trying to do was just ask us as stores and school service reps kind of what's going on in the field. Because, as we kind of mentioned before, everyone last year left for spring break and never came back. So you weren't able to recruit. We weren't able to help you recruit. And so the rentals in the fall ended up being quite a bit down. Well, then the band enrollment in the fall ended up being down, which meant rentals, which were down, which meant that the manufacturers they're seeing far fewer orders, which is hurting the factories now. And didn't hurt them so much last year as it is kind of right now. And so what a company like Eastman was trying to do was just try to figure out, like, hey, what's happening and how long is this going to continue, and what are directors doing? And they brought Charlie in just to kind of not look at it from the business side, but look at it from the band side. to make sure that we were thinking of it that way. And, he was telling us like, this last year could potentially have a very large detrimental effect on programs if we're not proactive to try to replace the kids that were lost. And there's a variety of ways to do it, but like we need to do something. And that's kind of what got me started with this. And I was talking with David Barani from Perryville yesterday or Friday, and he was saying like that he and Jerry were, who's the other teacher there, the director there, were talking about it together, and they were like, this thing could actually take us 7 years to totally work it out through our program. And I was like, it could, but you could also get it done quick if you're intentional about the strategy of how to pick up that growth so you don't have those issues. So anyway, that's kind of what I want to just sort of talk about, just to get an idea of like kind of how that's happening and how each director is handling it. And I know when I asked Linda for some people to talk to, a few names came up, and yours was certainly on the list. And I was like, hey, I know Tim really well, so let's make this happen. So
I appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. So let's talk a little bit about how are you doing recruiting this year? Have you guys begun your recruiting? Maybe even broaden that question a little more about kind of give me your general thoughts and philosophy on recruiting, and then fold that into what you're doing this year.
So St. Clair is in a unique situation. Not a lot of band programs have what we do to start. But to answer, and I'll kind of walk you through that, but to answer your first question, I'm never not recruiting. So we're at the high school, and our elementary school is where they start in 5th grade. That is right up the road. Literally, I walk it every day. And it's literally the next building next to the high school. And I am in that building 4 out of 5 days a week teaching beginning band. And I make sure that I'm walking through the halls. I go and I set up the band room every day for band class. And then if I've got an extra 3-4 minutes, I walk around the halls, because there's always kids coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to the bathroom and getting water and running errands and all that stuff. And in that building is grades 3, 4, and 5. And 5 is where we start. But those 3rd and 4th graders see me. And those 3rd and 4th graders know my name. And it's always, hey, how you doing? Hi, where you going? Never trying to catch anybody. Although, student guilt always is just like, wait, what did I do? But it's always, hey, how you doing today? Even if they don't know who I am. Oh, hey, I like that t-shirt, or, I love Iron Man because you're wearing that, whatever the case may be. So the recruiting is never done. If a kid is, especially like a brother or sister, is around one of your high school or junior high band kids, you're always addressing them and make sure you talk to them and say, hey, at the concerts, after the concert, you always go around and find those little kids and say, hey, did you like that? What was your favorite song? That's going to be you. And you plant in their head, yeah, that is going to be me one day.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that we do, and we did even this year with the COVID crazy, the very first day of school, as kids are getting off the bus, we park ourselves right outside the elementary school, and we just play. We play our marching band show. We play the fight song. We play the drum cadence. And they set up right next to the door. So the kids get off the bus, and they walk right past the band playing. So the first thing they see when they get off the bus on the very first day of school is the band is there welcoming them to school.
That is awesome.
And it's, since we started doing that, we have seen the beginning numbers skyrocket.
I love that. That's such a smart idea.
I mean, and it's super simple. And because our building is right next to the high school, all the high schoolers who are just dragging themselves in for the first day, they hear the band. And even though some of them will be stupid high schoolers, a lot of them are just like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay.
It is.
Right, I can do this.
Every year for the Winter NAMM show, they kick off the first day of the show. They generally have some type of band. And one year it was the USC Trojan Marching Band, which was pretty cool. They were in full uniform, full regalia, like it was pretty cool. Other times it's a band of like industry people, and they kind of march through the conventional. And this, you have to understand, if anyone who's never been to a NAMM show, the NAMM show is huge. It's the size of probably 8 or 10 airplane hangars. Like it takes days to get through the whole thing. And but you're right, like they'll stand outside and they kind of get in this arc, and everyone's outside waiting to be let in, and like this band is playing, and it's just super exciting. But I love that idea, Tim, of doing on the first day for the younger students, and like that becomes a tradition, and they associate these positive, warm, fuzzy feelings of the first day of school with the band, and you're getting your band visible to those kids. That's so good. I love that.
And it helps. It helps. And then they see, again, with the walking through the halls, they see me out front, with the band. I let my drum majors do a lot of conducting, but I stand right in between the bus door and the school door. And I'm giving fist bumps and high fives to everybody as they're coming through, saying, welcome back to school. Not even talking about the band, just, hey, welcome back. We're going to have a lot of fun. Like your shirt, like your hat. Let's go. It's going to be a great day, that kind of thing. So just they see the band, they associate it with positive things. And then, again, this is so like in a typical year. Mm-hmm. I will always take the high school band. I generally do a holiday or Christmas concert around the first week of December. And then that usually leaves us with about 2 weeks left in the December holiday. And most people will throw music coming up for the February concert or contest or whatever at the kids. And I do that a little bit too, but I keep that music alive and throw in a few other fun tunes. And we go to the elementary school, which is K through 2, K1 and 2. And then we go to the other elementary school, what we call the Edgar Murray, which has 3, 4, 5, and we go in, we do a Christmas concert for them. The last 2 times we've done it, we've done SpongeBob SquarePants. And my high schoolers love it. And those kids love it because they just start, screaming SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, I get where a lot of band directors want to be, this is serious, this is concert band, this is high school, but never forget that, and sometimes we do, music is supposed to be fun. Mm-hmm. Supposed to be fun. All of the pieces, like my incantation and dance and Armenian dances part 1, like those are holy grails to me. And I could sit in a rehearsal for 5 hours on end with serious conductor, and that would be heaven to me.
Yeah.
But that's me, because I'm a massive band director dork. Most of the people experiencing this stuff are not. So one year we did SpongeBob SquarePants. The year Moana came out, I got the marching band version of You're Welcome, and we played that. And everyone just went absolutely insane. Kindergartners dancing in the gym while we're playing. Doesn't matter. They see the band as something positive. The teachers really enjoy it. I always joke that we get them riled up and then send them back to class for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. But it works out so well. And since we started doing those things, again, numbers have started going up.
The 2 first 2 episodes we've done are going to come out basically immediately. And so the same conversation is going to be had. But it just bears worth repeating. I think you were so spot on to incorporate music that students know. Their palettes are not sophisticated and developed yet. Student musical palettes are very, very, very simple. They've been groomed on pop music and nursery rhymes and stuff like that. So it's very simple. And to try to think that you're going to expose them as a recruiting tool to this more complicated, advanced music is not the way to excite them. If you want to get kids into food, like exposing them to very complicated, challenging flavors may not be the best way to do it. You sort of pick them up where they're at and then start developing it from there, right? And at least if we're trying to have mass appeal. And you're exactly right. I don't think we want to have our entire band program from 6 through 12 be dedicated to pop music, of course. But we could probably incorporate a little bit more in it than we do. But then using pop music, cartoon music, music that these kids know as a way to connect them to band. Like, oh, hey, I know that song. I love that song. I love SpongeBob. I love whatever that thing is. And then like, oh, and the band's doing that. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, and that makes so much sense. I think that's so smart. And I want to reiterate the other thing you said a few times too, that just from the beginning, you mentioned that you're always recruiting. Our best schools and our best directors, they have that same mindset. They're always thinking of recruiting. You know, they never think of like, oh yeah, I do recruiting. I do recruiting on February 22nd every year. Like they're not thinking that way. They're thinking like, yeah, I recruit like almost every day. Like I'm always, whether it's in the halls or whatever, like I'm always doing it. But
and unfortunately, along those lines, you always have to be recruiting your older kids too, because you know, in this day and age where everything is getting pulled left and right, you got to make sure that you're recruiting and keeping your old students. So, you know, before school, there are many days when I don't even turn my computer on before school because I'm just out in the band room and I'm talking and chatting. Hey, how did your game go? What's going on with that grade? You know, what's going on with that teacher? How's your projects? I see you were holding hands with so-and-so. What's going on? Because you need that, you know, if there's that personal connection, they're more likely to help you get them to where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I've got a goal for you. I want you to be my all-state trumpet player. I also know that you're getting pulled away from basketball and a brand new girlfriend. And hey, how can I help you? How can I help? That way you know, they see that you're reaching out. They want to come back and help you achieve your goal for them. That kind of thing. So like the recruiting is nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. Now, so one of the unique things about St. Clair is that our beginner program, we don't start till after Labor Day. And the way that it works here is band is not a full period class for those fifth graders. What it is at the end of the day, we get 20 to 25 minutes. Really, by the time that kids get in and set up, it's closer to 20 minutes. But what I found is that's really enough. We do, so we start right after Labor Day and we take 2 weeks, and there are usually 5 to 7 fifth grade classes of 20 to 25 kids. And we'll do the same presentation every day to a class or two at the time. And we will do the 5 instruments that we start on: flute, clarinet, trumpet, trombone, percussion. If you do, and I've got opinions on both sides of, you know, should you go the big 5? Should you just go with everything? I've been all over the map. The thing I say is do what works for you. I have found that here at St. Clair, the big 5 works for us. So I'm not going to change that. That was in place before I got there. There are benefits to both. So what I do is I present all 5 of those instruments, and I usually bring up students. And what I have found, high school students, to help us out, what I have found is that whichever student group plays the more fun song, we get more students on that instrument. And we have noticed that we were lacking in our brass. So I wrote and stole from somewhere and rearranged it, a 5-part arrangement to Star Wars main theme: 2 trumpets, 2 trombones, and a tuba. And then I bring up a clarinet player and a flute player, and I don't bring up a percussionist. And those brass players play Star Wars. They play it's the tuba cheer, go big band, you know, let's go band, ba 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 da, whatever you want to call it. They play that as the kids are walking in. Oh my gosh, this is going to be something fun. Listen to those sounds. Then they play Star Wars. And then what I do is, in a normal non-COVID year, I have one of those kids walk up to the trombone player. The trombone player blows through it, and the kid grabs the slide and moves it down and moves it up. So now a kid is actually playing the trombone without playing the trombone. Oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing ever. Oh my gosh, look at that. And then I have another kid come over and start moving the valves on the trumpet while my high schooler plays. I actually have them do the same thing with the clarinet and the flute. They just come and press buttons while the kids are playing. And we've seen my trombones for the past 3 years have been the most amount of trombones we've ever had. I think I think that our record was 29 trombones. And I remember that rental night. I told Linda, I think we're going to have 29 trombones. And she tried like heck to get enough trombones in between all the stores, and we still ran out of trombones. It was such a great problem. And, you know, from that point on, we all know we're not going to keep all of them. And so it is, you know, at some point, it's a numbers game. If I start with 29 or 25 trombones, the idea is that I might be able to get 5 or 6 pretty good trombone players by the time they become freshmen. Because the trombone is probably the hardest beginning instrument there is. There's no button to push down. You know, and so I'm still working through, because I'm just a dumb saxophone player. I'm still working through how to be the best trombone teacher I can be and figure all that stuff out. But we're having some success, which is great. So I kind of got ahead of myself. We'll do the big presentation of all the instruments. And then what happens is we do, from, again, non-COVID normal year, we do something called song flutes, which are very simple recorders. Kahn makes them, and they cost like $2.50. Although they were hard to find this year, we ended up going with the Yamaha version, which was a little bit more. I think it was like $5, and we charge the kids $5 for this instrument. So if somebody loses it, and somebody will, it's $5. They're fine. And so what we do is we put them all in a room. Generally, it's the cafeteria, which holds everybody. I've got a giant whiteboard, and I am just teaching them. Me personally, I am teaching them quarter notes, whole notes, half notes, B, A, G, F, everything on the scale. And then once they get pretty good at reading treble clef, I switch it to bass clef. And so they're learning how to read bass clef and treble clef at the same time. The first couple of years I was doing this, I never taught bass clef, and my trombones, when they switched over, just completely lost. And I lost the most trombones then. So I started in song flutes doing bass clef and treble clef. And, you know, by the time they're done with song flutes, they can read music in both. We are not talking about stuff below or above the staff, but, you know, I could point to that note in the staff and say, what note is that on either clef? And they'd be able to tell me. And when we start with instruments, boy, does it help. So here's how we do that. While I'm doing that, my assistant is pulling 5 to 10 kids at a time into another room, and every kid tries all 5 instruments. They don't need to make a decision of their top 3 without ever having played. They play all 5 instruments. And it's just, you know, on the flute, it's a matter of, can you make a sound on just the head joint? We don't even connect the rest of them. That's how that works. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Clarinet, we do put the whole clarinet together, but we turn the mouthpiece around. So she's got control of all of the fingerings. And when they get a good sound, we do a quick F scale. Oh, listen to how good you are. You're amazing. You know, trumpet, trombone, same thing. What we're looking for there is if they can get, it doesn't matter if it's the higher pitches or lower pitches, if they can get 2 different pitches that they mean to play. Hey, that was really good. Can you play the high pitch again? Can you play the low pitch again? And if they can do that, they are golden. And we score them on a score of 1 to 10. We tell the kids, if you've got a 10 or 9, that instrument and you will get along really well. If you got a 7 or 8, you'll be okay. It'll be a little bit of teaching, but you're going to be pretty good. If you get a 5 or 6, because we usually don't go below 5. But if you get a 5 or 6, it's going to be tough. We're not saying no, but it's going to be tough. And that generally helps us steer them to where they're going to be successful. So we know what they would be naturally successful on. They know it, and we're just trying to set it up for success.
Yeah.
We'll usually do that from Labor Day until right around Thanksgiving. Just before Thanksgiving, we do a rental night, and then we get back from Thanksgiving, and it is go time on our instruments, and we start all over again. But because they know how to read music, they understand what a quarter note is, they get what a whole note is, things go a little bit quicker. And the goal for 5th grade beginning band is to teach them the first 5 notes, so that when we get to 6th grade band, where we do see them for a full period, 45 to 50 minutes a day, then we're not starting at the beginning again, when we can hit the ground running.
Yeah. I've had a few schools that have done the song flute thing, and I think that's so smart. I remember the first time I heard about that, I was a little perplexed by it, but then when they explained the logic the way that you just did, made so much sense, because you think about like the challenge of trying to teach music when you're having to teach all of it. You have to teach embouchure, you have to teach fingerings, you have to teach theory all at the same time. Like, it's really complicated and confusing for students. And if you can just separate those things where you don't have to do that, we're like, all right, let's just teach the theory of it before, because we kind of need to at least understand note links and stuff like that before we can really kind of begin. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but I think we all at least tend to think along those lines. Then breaking that apart and spending a few weeks on that certainly makes a lot of sense. And now when you put the instrument in their hand, teaching fingerings and embouchure is the only thing they have to focus on. They already know how many beats quarter note gets, how many beats whole note gets, what the difference between an F and a C. Like, they already understand that. That's not the mystery. So I think that's just so smart to do that. So how have you, and then starting, so when you're recruiting for band, and the year before they can sign up for band, you're just encouraging and recruiting them to join the band, and then they're picking an instrument later. They're deciding around this time of year roughly, yeah, I'm going to do band next year, and you guys are able to start your beginning band in 5th grade. And so as fourth grade, they're deciding that we're not having to pick the instrument yet or anything. They're just signing up for band, and then they show up. You start with song flutes, and then during that time, you start doing your play testing.
Yes. Now, what's key to this whole thing is at that elementary school, we have taught our principal at the elementary school how unique and how important band is in her school, so that. And we tell her that this thing doesn't work without her and the 5th grade teachers. And and that is 100% true. If our 5th grade teachers were fighting us on this, we would not be successful. But it's gotten to a point where we figured out how the 5th grade, how it works with 5th grade. And one of the things is it's optional for kids to do the song flutes. So we always tell them, give it a shot. You don't like it? Cool. At Thanksgiving, you can go back to the classroom, and they do, I honestly forget what they do, but they combine all the kids that don't do band, they kind of combine into 1 or 2 different classes, and they're doing some kind of other projects. That's great. And we make sure we thank them. Thank you for trying this. We really appreciate it. We'll see you down the road. Make sure you say hi to us. And so they've got the option, and we always tell them it's better to try than to not try. Our 5th grade teachers encourage these kids to join and do band. And it's so helpful. They're helping us recruit for them, because the more kids that do that, it's a little easier for the 5th grade teachers right there at the end of the day.
Sure.
And who wouldn't like to end their day just a little bit easier with a few less kids in your classroom?
Yeah.
I'll take them all.
Right.
Band directors are those people. Give us all the kids. We want them all.
Yeah.
So we have gone so far as to every year we take a little bit of money out of the band budgets. If we did a fundraiser or something like that, we always make sure that we thank those fifth grade teachers. We always make it a little bit of a contest. Who's going to give us, we joke with them, who's going to give us the most amount of kids this year? Are we going to get all your kids this year? Or are you going to, that kind of thing? And so, I mean, it really is kind of a team effort. So helping them to understand how important they are to our process, and then showing them the end result. Like I said, the first day coming to play for them, the band being visible to even the junior high. We do competitive parade marching at St. Clair, and we make sure that our practice route goes right past those fifth grade windows every year during October, because they see the band, they see what's going on, and the teachers will say, "Hey, look, there's the band. How many years is going to do band?" So, we try and be as visible as possible.
Yeah. Genius, man. Genius.
Hey, I wish I could take credit for all this stuff. I'm just building on. I'm just building on some of the stuff that was here when I got here.
Sure, but all of it. Trying to refine and improve those processes and stuff. Just so smart to have all that. And I know that there's a lot of schools that we service that aren't doing this, so I'm hoping that they find this useful. So how were you all affected? How was your enrollment affected by this past school year with various COVID things and stuff like that? Because you, like I mentioned, we left for spring break and that never came back. How did that affect you with your beginning class this year?
So if it's all right, I'd like to start with the sixth grade.
Sure.
Last year's beginning class, last year's fifth graders was the biggest class of fifth graders we had switch from song flute to instruments. We had 95 kids in song flutes. And then when we switched to instruments, we had 75. And man, we were on cloud nine. This was it. This was going to start the giant build. We were going to get to eventually 150 in the high school band. Woohoo, COVID hits. We never got a chance to talk to them, because with the high school kids, they're more connected. There's Google Classroom, and those kids were on Google Classroom too, but we didn't have that connection with them because we only see them 20 minutes a day, 4 days a week. So we ended up losing 40 kids, and our sixth grade is at 36. And I know we would have been at 50 or 60 had gotten to do the concert for fifth grade and taught and see those parents and talk to them and all that stuff. So yeah, it hurt. What is good though is the kids who came in, we said, okay, we're in a beginning band situation again. So we started back on line one. We went pretty fast because they picked it up pretty good. But now we're I think our fifth graders are somewhere around 40, so it's not where we want.
Kind of got hung up here.
Are you there?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. I don't know what the last thing you heard was.
You were talking about the that you were there. I think you're saying that the students you had 40 students in there, and
okay. Yeah. So thankfully, we made the conscious decision. We're back at the beginning of the book, and we're just trying to make it as fun as possible. And so we're pretty sure they're starting to do schedules now for next year. We're pretty sure we're going to keep most everybody that we want to keep, which is great. This year for our actual beginners, in talking with the principals up at our elementary school, it took a while. So we didn't start song flutes until Thanksgiving, which is when we would normally be renting instruments.
Mm-hmm.
And it took us a while to just kind of figure out what the logistics of everything is going to be.
Right.
And so what we ended up doing is, where normally we would put all of them in the cafeteria, we split it up. So we did this year where there were 6 fifth grade classes. So we did 3 2 days a week, the other 3 2 days a week. And while I can tell that these students aren't along as far as previous students would be, it's working. Everybody's spread out. We've got room to keep everybody safe. We've got the bell masks and all that stuff. So it took us a while to figure it out, but we ran it as close to normal as possible. And, you know, our numbers are bearing out. Now, this is a smaller class, but we've got the same percentage of the class as we did last year, which, you know, you make it a game, you make it positive, you make everybody happy and feel success. You know, even if, you know, if there's that kid that is trying to play through the bell of the horn, you just say, hey, you look great today. Thanks for being here. You know, you go out of your way to just make sure everybody feels a little positive when they walk in that class, and
Right.
And it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so great. And, you know, I think we have to think about how we can keep the kids we've got, because, you know, what we're trying to do is keep as many students involved in the band as we can. I mean, it improves their life and benefits their life, but then we also need those students when we get to high school. We need, you know, so many students to do the things that we would like to do with our high school bands.
Yep.
And so part of that is the retention. You know, you've got to keep you got those kids in the pool. We got to be able to keep them in the pool. But I think for the next couple of years, we're going to have to really be focused on that. And we could end up learning some great strategies out of this that benefit us going forward to help grow our programs even more. Certainly, if there's things that we could do to up our percentage of kids joining band, I think that would kind of help. Just because I do think that this you know, this soft year we had is going to sort of carry through. So anything we can do to change that around, I think would be great. We had sent out a webinar. The folks at AMRO had done this webinar, and we shared it. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it yet, but it's one of the directors, and I think she's in Tennessee. But she, in lieu of doing play testing, she does more of like this profile testing using their facial characteristics. And she looks at 3 different things. I think it's the size of their lips, sort of the shape of their face and jawline, and I think it's the alignment of their teeth. She rates each of those a score, and then she takes that compiled score, and then she basically has an algorithm that says, all right, if you're a 136, then here's the instruments that historically I've showed that you would have success on. And it does a couple of things. It you know, one, it helps to get kids on an instrument that they may have a natural aptitude for. Because she's of the opinion, and I agree, that most kids just want to play something they'll be good at. They, you know, some kids come in, if they have an instrument preference, half the time or more, 90% of the times, because a friend's playing or whatever. But certainly in terms of retention, getting them to be good on an instrument is the most important thing. And as a band director, where you have a lot of kids and only 1 or 2 or a few of you, depending on the size of your staff, and you're not an expert in pedagogy on all of the instruments, because it's impossible. There's people who spend their entire lives trying to figure out how the trumpet embouchure works or the oboe embouchure or whatever. Like, you know, there's no way a band director who's a percussionist is going to understand all the nuances of this, you know. So you kind of need to be able to get people where, you know, that you can get them where they have the highest chance of success. And then the other benefit to this approach is it's fast. It literally takes her a couple of minutes to assess a kid, and she doesn't have to have them play. So she's not like getting them spit on or whatever. And we've always used the play testing approach, which is kind of nice. You get the kid involved, which I think is good. And you can kind of get a sense for which kid can kind of quickly make a noise and all that kind of stuff. But you just don't have the time to give them much instruction, and it doesn't tell you a whole lot. Although I think it's better than nothing. But anyway, I'm kind of bringing this up because first of all, have you seen this webinar that I'm talking about this gal with the face characteristics and stuff?
I haven't. I would be interested in seeing that.
I'll email it to you.
I feel like I've had some old school band directors, guys who when I started were at the end of their career. I feel like I've had them talk to me a little bit about that kind of idea. But if someone has taken it to the next level and has been able to do scores and algorithms, I'd be very interested in that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's been in the last couple of newsletters that we've sent out. And when I first watched it, I wasn't. My first thought was like, this is silly. And then I kept watching it, and I was like, well, I don't know, maybe it's not silly. And so then I forwarded it to Linda Hook, Rob Springer, Mike Guffey, so our 3 road reps, and then my wife Belinda, who's a middle school band director. And I asked all of them, I was like, what do you all think about this? Watch it, let me know what you think. And they all came back and they all thought that's really interesting and probably has some merit. So then I kind of went back and watched parts of it again, and I thought, yeah, I could totally see how that could work. And I think
especially
anything that
in
helps.
A situation that we've been in with COVID, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Or there's times too where, like, we'll have a director that wants us to help with play testing, and which we like to do, but they'll say, okay, well, I've got 120 kids in the previous grade, so usually it's 5th grade, and I get them for 45 minutes, and so can you come help me play test? And we're like, like that's it's hard for us to get 10 or 15 people to come out to Broken Hubcap, Missouri, and do those play testing, because that's what you would need to get through that many kids that quick. Like it's hard. And so finding a strategy that speeds this process up more quickly, I think could be beneficial. So I don't know. I'll send it. I'm going to make sure that we are sharing that again so people can watch it and see. And I'm just curious what people think about it when they view it. And I'd like to have some of our folks try it just to see what they think. And I think, like anything, there's a refinement. She even mentions in this webinar, that it's not 100%. There's times that she'll analyze the lips and everything else and assign someone an instrument, and that kid and that instrument just don't get along, and she has to switch them. And which is not really a problem. I think every good program does that. If you find a kid like, this kid's just not, they can't get above that second partial on the trumpet, like, let's try something else, and I think everybody does that. But man, this has been great. Is there anything else that you can think of that you want to share in terms of how it relates to recruitment or retention?
Well, I think I just want to kind of build on something you just said. As cool as that is, I would also recommend that, I think that it's a fine line between what the kid wants to play and what they're good at. And so if the kid really wants to play that instrument and maybe didn't score so good, and who knows what the kid's motivation is. Grandpa used to play that instrument, so I want to play that instrument. Or, whatever the case may be. Like in my own case, when I went and tried out and did play testing when I was in 4th grade, they took one look at me because I was a bigger kid and tried to put a tuba in my face, and I only wanted to play the saxophone. There was, and music was always one of those things that was pretty big. I started piano lessons in 3rd grade, was singing all the way in church, all that stuff. So like music was a big deal. Mom and dad helped me out, but they only wanted me to play tuba because I could get a sound on it, and, big kid, give them a tuba.
Mm-hmm.
But my passion wasn't there. And so saxophone it became, and that's kind of what I did. So I'm very hesitant to tell a kid, no, you can't play this instrument. But I am also real with them. I had to have this conversation, I think 3 times with kids this past year. So we give them their scores on a piece of paper, and then they have to bring it back signed from mom and dad saying, this is the instrument. We talked about it. This is the instrument we're going to play. Here's rental night, all that good stuff. And, about 3 times I said, okay, you got a 5 on the trumpet. That means you didn't do all that good. I am not going to stand in your way. You want to do it? Let's do it. Just know it's going to be tough and you got to make sure you listen. And they either say, oh, I didn't realize it'd be that tough. Let's go with choice number 2. Or they say, yeah, I got it. Let's go. And those kids have turned out just fine. The only ones that we do limit, I guess I should put this out there, is percussion. We switched over to the Musser xylophone kits. And those kits are so big that they can't go on the school bus. Every other instrument we've worked out can. Minus tuba and bari sax, but, not for beginners. So since we did that, they rent one, they keep it at home. And we have been forced to buy a certain amount of sets. And I only have 7. So we only start 7. And it helps us control our percussion population. I feel like Bob Barker, your percussion population. No, it helps us control who gets there. I tell kids only the people that score the highest and the people that do well in song flutes. So there might be 1 or 2 kids who think that they're just going to come in and play the drums, and all they do is screw around during song flutes. They're not going to get picked, and we have that frank conversation. So that's really helped us as well. I have strayed from the point, but just wanted to put that.
I'm really glad you addressed that, because certainly percussion is an issue that every director deals with. And honestly, when I started in band, I wanted to play percussion, and but so did all the other boys in my class. And I've just always kind of been the type that if everyone's zigging, I want to zag. Like, that wasn't really my thing. And so I had my hand up for percussion, and then I saw everybody else's hand go up, and so I put it down. And then they brought up they showed the trumpet, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And 2 other kids raised their hand. I went to a small school and beginning band, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm gonna play trumpet then. So I think you're totally right. I do think directors need to shape their instrumentation, because you need to make sure that you've got a reasonable balance. I know a lot of us have used or thought about the sport analogy. Like, we've got to have someone to play tight end. Someone's got to be defensive end. We need cornerbacks. Not everyone gets to be wide receivers and quarterbacks. Like, we got to have the full gamut, And so I think there's some degree for that. I think another good strategy for that kid who just has their heart set on an instrument that they didn't test particularly well on is to tell them, hey, if you really want to try this, we can try it. But I want you to make me this promise. If we're getting, if we get to the end of the 9 weeks or semester and you're struggling and not really having success with it, I want to try. Will you be willing to try something else if you're not doing that well with it? Like, yeah, okay, cool. Then let's try it. I think that strategy can often work.
Yeah.
And I like what you're doing on the percussion side of it. We often are trying to limit percussion. One way to do that is to limit it by the cost and maybe the transportation involved. Like, you have to be able to have a ride back and forth every day. And this instrument's kind of expensive. Like, you have to be able to do this. That's another way to control the cost without making you the bad guy.
Right.
That's the other problem with percussion is so many times it's the cheapest thing for someone to get into. So they already want to do it. And then all they got to do is buy a bell kit and a snare drum and some sticks and a mallet, and they can be in it. And like, it's so cheap and it's attractive because they all think they're going to do something they're not doing. And so helping to dispel that, I think, is helpful.
Along those lines, we also tell the kids, if you think that you're going to come in here and learn how to play the snare drum your first year, you're not. We are not touching the drums. You are going to learn mallets, and we're going to stay with that most of the time. And then when they get to 6th grade, 2 days a week, I pull them out of the 6th grade rehearsal, and that's when we start teaching them some snare techniques and stuff like that. And then it kind of builds from there. So they know going in, it's not going to be, I'm going to sit down at a drum set and let's go. It's not going to be the rock star dream. So
yeah, super smart.
Yeah.
Well, just kind of to recap on this has been really great, Tim. So first of all, like recruiting's never done. So you're always recruiting your students, and you always want to be seen by the students that are both in your band, and then the younger students that haven't yet made that decision for band. Personally, you and teaching staff, you want to start building that connection, and then you want to get your band in front of those kids at every opportunity. It's one of the things you guys are doing at St. Clair is just, hey, first day of school, marching band's out there playing a bunch of fun music to get people hopped up, and you're working on your parade stuff right in front of the elementary school where the kids can't help but hear it and see it. And then holiday performances, you're adding some fun tunes, doing that in front of the elementary concert, which again I love this idea too, because now you're also putting some of the ownership of the band program future into those high school students. You guys are helping to build the future. I need you to help me recruit and build. I love that you're doing that.
I'm glad you're coach. I'm glad you said that, because that is a discussion we have with the high school band before we go over. You guys need to understand that you are helping to build the program that you will never see. That's why we go and do this. That's why I'm taking you out of classes so close to finals. You guys are helping us make sure our band program lasts past you. And usually that kind of gets most of them, okay, I let's go. We can do this.
David Barani, my conversation with him, mentioned specifically, he was like, hey, this is your hometown. Like, you're going to want to leave this program better than you found it. And you're going to want to be able to come back as an alumni and see a really successful program, be able to say, I helped to build that. I love the idea of coaching those high school students when it comes to the demo day, and specifically thinking about which instruments do I need more beginners to sign up for, and then setting them up for success, like by, all right, well, I'm going to get them like some of the coolest stuff. And like, because I need more people to play trombone or whatever. That is so smart. And then I love the idea of song flutes, and not only starting with that teaching theory, but also teaching both treble and bass clef. That's really clever. I don't know that I've heard other people doing that, so I think that's really smart. And I'm with you on the whole.
What really helps with that is that, again, I very rarely will pass out sheet music for the song flutes. Everything is done up. I have the high school bought for the elementary music teacher, and she uses it every day. But out of my band budget, I bought one of those whiteboards, portable whiteboards that has just blank whiteboard on one side and the staff on the other. And we just roll that out to the cafeteria, and that way that's the music that we're all reading off of until we get a little bit later when I'll start introducing them. This is what sheet music looks like and all that stuff. But it helps because you can do the same melody that you just learned. Here's what it looks like in bass clef. And 2 minutes, 2 seconds later, you write it up and everything's good to go.
Yeah. And then, trying to incorporate what kids really want to play. I think everybody does that, certainly just to a large degree. And, I'm curious to have you watch this characteristics video to see what you think. And, I want to stress, she's looking specifically just at face stuff. There's none of the personality type stuff in there, which I think is total BS. She's not even super focused on like the physical size, although that's a part of it. I mean, one needs to be able to hold the instrument that they're playing. But, Belinda is 5'1", plays trombone. When she started on trombone, she couldn't reach 6th and 7th position. She certainly can now, and she is a hell of a trombone player. I mean, she was the soloist in our college marching band. Like, who would have thunk it? And I remember, like, because I was the trumpet soloist, she was the trombone soloist. I don't think she's an earshot. I remember I just would always love it, like when she'd go up for her solo. And I mean, at 5'1" on a marching field, in college, she just looks like a little kid. She just walking up there, and then she'd play and just like mow down anyone that's in front of her. And I would always be like on the field, I'd be like, wow! Like, I was always just so happy. It's I don't know, just exciting.
That's awesome.
30 years ago, that's our relationship. How it starts right there. Fell in love with a trombone player. How sad is that? With that, not the falling in love part, but the assigning instruments thing, it was so funny. So when our youngest son, Maddox, when he signed up for band, he actually ended up transferring middle schools to be at Belinda's school. And she was telling me, she said, and Maddox, of course, being a bankhead, he's tall kid, kind of big kid. She's like, I need tuba players. And I'm like, no. You're not going to take our kid, and like make him play tuba just because he's a big kid and you need a tuba player. She's like, okay, whatever. And so she did the play testing, and he's been around this stuff all of his life. So on all the instruments, like he was able to kind of get a sound and kind of get through it. Dang it, he got to the tuba and could play 2 octaves right off the bat. Like,
Oh,
she was like,
wow.
he had this glorious sound and could play 2 octaves on the tuba. And I'm like, that kid's playing tuba,
Yeah.
So he's playing tuba. He's had kind of a weird year like anybody else, because his 6th grade year, they made it to spring break and then got cut off. And then this year they started with a lot of virtualization, and then half going to school, half not, so on and so forth. But the kid's doing really well. He made 2nd chair in the honor band this year. We did a little holiday family brass quartet, and like he was able to play tuba in it. I mean, with only a year of experience, he sounded great. We're working on a little bit of electric bass now with him as well.
That's awesome.
And he's doing great. So sometimes those bigger kids could be great tuba players, but just because they're a big kid, don't put them on tuba or something like that. Like see what they're going to have aptitude for and put them on that. So anyway.